I'm Marjorie Dannon-Felser, and I'm the president of Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America. As President Trump is preparing for his State of the Union address, it's an apt moment for the pro-life movement to assess where our nation stands in fulfilling our founding document's promises to all people, starting with the youngest, the child waiting to be born. What makes the promise to protect lives at once a public responsibility and also a personal call? From our very beginnings, each one of us was distinct from all other children who came from before us and all the children who will come after us. All our information was loaded in at our tiniest stage. We were all there once. We each had a first heartbeat. Our fingers, toes, eyebrows, our fingerprints formed, our major organs developed. We became capable of feeling pain, all by just a dozen weeks of life. It's a miracle, and we were all there. We and all the rest of the little hidden children are of course human and of course possess the inalienable right to life. So how are we doing protecting that right in this great land of the free? Well, look at where we stand in our history of fighting and winning human rights battles, and consider how we fought using the great gifts of the tools of our democratic republic. And let's assess where we are now through that prism. Great human rights movements, inspired by the promises of our Declaration and our Constitution, led to the abolition of slavery, to women's suffrage, to ending child labor, all after great struggle in these areas and others. We delivered on those promises as a nation. Now consider the great battles the pro-life movement has won after over a half a century of struggle. Electing a pro-life president, confirming the Supreme Court justices who would reverse Roe v. Wade with the Dobbs decision and restore the right to uphold the 14th Amendment equal protection promise in the law. The handcuffs are off. We are free to protect the human rights of people. We live in a new, fresh moment, filled with hope for our children. And yet, there are now more abortions than before Dobbs, at least 1.1 million a year. More than 60% of those deaths are caused by abortion drugs, and that's more than fentanyl, cocaine, and heroin-related deaths combined. Abortion is the #1 cause of death in the United States of America. The current GOP strategy of leaving this issue to the states clearly does not work. 20 pro-life states can't even enforce their laws because of mail-order abortion drugs. In accord with Biden's COVID policy, California and New York and foreign nations are mailing drugs to anyone, men or women, into states, determining policy for every state, even those with strong pro-life protections. No doctor visit is required, as further dictated by President Biden during COVID. Weekly horror stories of coercion, forced abortion, and harms to women are surfacing. It's a horror. But HHS and the FDA are unmoved. They could easily, today, reestablish in-person dispensing and get the drug out of the mail. They are deaf to the cries of the House and the Senate, attorneys general on behalf of their states, and of women and unborn children. Half a dozen states are in court fighting for justice for women and children who are poisoned and coerced by pimps and abusers and traffickers and boyfriends, exes buying drugs online. This abortion drug atrocity denies the Dobbs victory and other historic victories, like the first ever defunding of the big abortion lobby by Congress last year. On another front, some Republicans, including the president, think it's time to be flexible on the Hyde Amendment. That's the bedrock principle that's been around for 50 years. The taxpayer should never be forced to fund the violence of abortion. Incredibly popular consensus opinion. Leader John Thune, Speaker Mike Johnson, and Senator Bill Cassidy, among others, say absolutely not. No flexibility here. The reality is that federal policy is at odds with culture. Among young adults 18 to 29, pro-life identification has increased 11 points since Dobbs. Support for no limits abortion on demand dropped 19 points. Now, without Roe, the debate is real, and the consequences of those debates are real. 57% of liberal voters think safeguards on dangerous abortion drugs like seeing a doctor in person are just common sense. Human rights movements in the United States have always relied upon building popular consensus on the ground and building leadership at the top to safeguard human rights protections in the law. Our movement is strong. There is a flourishing of new, courageous, and convincing voices at all levels. Our churches, local communities, digital influencers, strong advocates in state and federal government, and this is all very good. But there is still a reality that we must acknowledge. The other side is never going to give up. As long as they have a grip on institutions, on power, on funds, on political officials, much of the media, we must, and our pro-life elected officials must, keep working and fighting and speaking, never silent. Our consensus building contrasts with their extremism. We have a modest request regarding mail-order drugs and the Hyde Amendment. We've built consensus beyond the movement in the popular culture that rejects taxpayer funding of abortion and rejects lawlessness surrounding abortion drugs. To the Trump-Vance administration, we insist, please act. Restore the in-person doctor visit requirement for the abortion drug. Stand by no taxpayer funding of abortion in Hyde policy. Hundreds of thousands of lives will be saved. Each child is important. Fear of doing or saying anything on this issue is needless and not smart. Midterms are approaching, and we're in the field in Senate and House battlegrounds all over the country. We're spending time with voters at their doorsteps and tens of millions of dollars to reach over 10 million of them. Here is what we see now. What Republicans should fear is self-inflicted loss of their most passionate base and take the fight to their opponents. This is our challenge today. With renewed unity, keep our promise to protect the right to life in this most important human rights movement of our day. We are hopeful, and we should be. We've accomplished so much. The human heart has and always will respond to love and to life. We have great days ahead because our movement is growing in numbers, youth, and diversity. We have everything we need to accomplish victory for women and children. Strong and convincing leaders, faith in God's goodness, inspiration and lessons from history to guide us, the tools of democracy which give us voice and power, and most of all, the riveting vision of the one child. Precious, irreplaceable, so very needed, and with rights to protect. Out of love and determination, we will never stop until we save her, and each and every one. This year we celebrate America's 250th birthday. Now is the moment to dig in on who we are as a nation. Who are we as a human family? Will we welcome our nation's children into it and protect them in the law? This is a minimum standard for a civilization of justice and love that the United States of America was born to be. Thank you.